I know talking legislation is never fun. It's required. It's a must-have in our industry to keep it going. I don't talk legislation stuff too well. I talk with these guys really well, so that's what we're going to dig into, and I know that's why you're here on our side of the room today. For those who aren't aware of what we're going to be talking about over the next 75 to 90 minutes, we're going to talk about starting an agency, building an agency, and keeping your agency compliant. So with that said, when it comes to starting your agency, Brad, I mean, you've been through it once or twice right now, but you're going through it again on the Medicare side. Why don't you tell us from the agency perspective, and we'll get into a little bit about the agent perspective, but the agency perspective, what should folks be, thinking of, right, when they're starting an agency?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the invite to this. This is awesome. What you said starting off is so important. He said he doesn't talk legislation much, but he talks to us, and he has a network, right? I think that is ultimately kind of the most important thing, right? I don't talk legislation well either, or compliance, or any of these topics that aren't necessarily fun, okay, but are necessary to our business. And so, in the most recent startup, right, we from basically decision, okay, with Bob on the phone, basically hey, here's what I'm thinking. He said you should do it, no brainer. So I do it, right, naturally. From idea to inception, or for inception of idea to startup was probably less than 90 days. And we've got a Medicare center with 10 agents currently and growing. That was an idea 90 days ago. But I can tell you that none of it would have been possible or even close to doable without some exceptional relationships, right? And being in rooms like this and in relationships with people that come to these events and do want to see you do well and do well by your side is so important. So I think we can get into the weeds of all of the fine details of what it takes to start an agency, right? To build an agency, to hopefully stay compliant with that agency. But I think it all starts and stems from being in community, being in good relationships, being involved in the industry, which has always been my strength, just being really involved and engaged in what's going on out there.
Yeah, being involved and engaged, creating that opportunity for yourself through networking. Real quick show of hands too, how many agency owners do we have in the room? Agency owners with a team underneath of them? It's a good bit. Individual agents with no team underneath of them? Out of those agents with their hands up, how many are LOAs under an agency? Not many. So we have a pretty good mix of independent agents and agency owners. Are there any call center owners in the room? No call centers. Scratch half the. All right, there you go. So when the mic comes around for call centers, those are the two guys we want to hit right there. Good. Well, we have a good treat then. We've got a good mix of agency owners and individual agents today, so that's going to be an awesome thing. When we're talking about starting a business, right, whether it be from the agency or agent standpoint, Bobby, I'll turn this one to you. Could you give some tips on what should go through the thought process of, hey, I'm an agent now, I'm thinking about taking the next steps to an agency owner, and which independent, should I go under a lot of calls?
Subscribe. We put out tons and tons of free content, more than any FMO or carrier out there, but we have to get the subscribers to continue to put it out. So if you're watching this, you're consuming it, please subscribe. Do it for me, because you like me, you love me, and you want our channel to grow so we can put out more stuff for you.
That's a good question, and I know you asked, first of all, thank you, Ken and Fahu, for inviting me up here to speak. These are great events. I echo what Brad says, is networking is why we come here. The content's great, and hopefully you can meet some speakers and take one thing away when someone's speaking, but, and you guys you all know this, you're successful, but while you're here, meet somebody that can also mentor you and help you along the way. What Brad said was a true story. Brad was in the car with a potential business partner, called me, we talked for 45 minutes, he pulled the trigger 90 days ago, and now he's ready to go. So it's always good to network for that. Now, I know before I talk about the agency starting, I know we only have the one call center group here, but anybody here sell over the phone? Because I know the definition of call center. Yeah, there we are. Okay, I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So we do have some agents that sell over the phone, so some of our content.
Those hybrid,
Yeah.
getting all the attention right now from regulations.
Absolutely, which I have some help for you on that too, so you guys understand some of the differences. So for me, starting an agency, who here understands cost per acquisition and lifetime value of their products? And it's okay if you don't, because I've sat with lots of multi-million-dollar producers who can give us those numbers. So if you have a pen and pad, I think this is a tangible takeaway if you don't understand this. But for me, when I started off, I would have a company come to me and say, "Hey, what's your marketing budget?" And I would say, well, if it works, unlimited. If it doesn't work, I don't want to spend a single cent, right? And so the way that I found to come to a marketing budget and also a target policy count for the year is truly understanding your cost per acquisition and lifetime value of a policy. So cost per acquisition, I break it into two categories. I have my media cost or my lead cost, however you want to define that, and I have my fixed costs. And what you do is you add those two items together, so everything in your P&L is going to feed into those two line items, and then when you accumulate those, that's how much you spend. You divide that by your expenses, by how many sales you got, and that's your cost per acquisition. All right, so if you spend $40,000, you do 100 sales, you do the math, and that's your cost per acquisition. And you want to, on the cost per acquisition side, separate out by channels, right? Because you might be trying direct mail, you might be trying Facebook. So that's your cost per acquisition. Lifetime value of a policy, I would say if you're doing, everybody here is doing Medicare, is that why we're here today? Listen to this? Okay. I own a couple call centers, so our lifetime value is probably lower than those that you are face-to-face. But we value a med sub policy around $1,500, $1,600, and we value an MA policy around $950 to $1,000. So, as you're building your business, how many of you try to make money on your first year commissions? Like, are you actually trying to make money on that? Because I think that's hard. If you're averaging $400 in first year commissions, it's really tough to grow your agency when, because people look at it. I find a lot of agency owners limiting their growth because they're trying to get their $400 commission and they're trying to write policies for $300, they're trying to be profitable. But really, if the policy's worth, say, $1,200, who here would spend $600 to make $1,200? I would every freaking time, right? So that's really the concept, that as you're coming up with your marketing budget, I challenge you not to limit your growth. These policies are worth money. That's why there's agencies being sold every day, if you follow LinkedIn. That's how you monitor your cost per acquisition. So I'm tying this in your lifetime value. So I'm tying this into agency ownership because you have to have cash to own the agency. And that's how you can start your budget. If I want to do 1,000 policies, and I'm targeting a $600 cost, and I'm anticipating this amount of first year revenue, I need $250,000, or whatever that math breaks down to.
Bob's getting deep early already.
Sorry, we just had a really good conversation back there, so.
It got fired up. Exactly.
And then,
you're stealing thunder from the second part, man. I love it, though. So I love it. Hey, listen, if you're an agent thinking of being an agency owner, those costs are imperative to really scaling, right? You can't just be throwing money at the wind blindly, even if you think you're the #1 salesperson in the world. You should be smart with your money, and I think that's what Bob's trying to allude to here, saying, hey, some of those numbers that you should be aware of are cost per lead, cost per acquisition, lifetime value. And if you're really digging into what he was saying is then start to even, filter that down by lead source. Well, what is it for Facebook? What is it for Google? What is it for my billboards? What is it for the grassroots direct mailers that I'm doing? All right.
Can I just add to that real quick?
Awesome information, dude.
So how do you measure difference? Sorry, I'll be quiet. So how do you measure that? So if the way you measure, if you're running Facebook ads, you need to have a separate, let's say you're doing a click-to-call Facebook ad, you need to have a separate DID. Everybody knows what a DID is? Dedicated phone number.
Okay.
So it's a dedicated phone number, and what you want to do is you want to purchase like 30 of those. They're like $1.50 a piece. And every time you're running a campaign, let's say you're running a direct mail campaign. I'll pause out this, I promise. Yeah, let's say you're running a direct mail campaign, and you have 3 different mail pieces that you're mailing out. And you're like, okay, I spent $10,000 I got 20 sales, that's a $500 cost per acquisition, right? Well, if you have 3 different pieces there, and you don't separate out, and the call to action on direct mail typically is a call. So if you have the same phone number in all 3 pieces, you might be spending that $10,000 on 2 losers and only allocating 30% of that to the 1 winner. So if you can track the results by that phone number on where those sales are coming from, now you can intelligently say, okay, wow, I have a winner there. Those are 2 losers. I'm going to spend all $10,000 on that winner. So you have to track where your money's being spent in marketing all the way down to the campaign. Otherwise, you're not going to be efficient on your dollars. I'll pause now, I'm sorry.
I'll join in real quick.
It's hard to cut that guy off. I mean, he's just flooded with knowledge. Go ahead, John.
I got something for you real fast. So, good way to track that. Just go give her a CRM. It's right over there. We'll help you track all that. Just letting you know.
Forget the names. Johnny's over at the table over there with that kind of signage. We can't really plug. Just ignore that for now. All right. So if it doesn't work, though, let's talk about pivoting and having a plan. So, Melissa, I know you inherited an agency, right, from your brother. Not necessarily maybe everything you wanted when you took over it, but you had a plan. Did you have to pivot much early on, or did you find yourself just cruising as an agency owner, taking it all in? What was your first take as an agency owner?
I just cruised. It was like self-cruise control. The agency ran, we ran. I had my mom retired from her job and came to work with us, and I hired somebody else. But that was before I knew, like when you guys are talking about networking and doing stuff, that was before I even knew there was this whole other world. Like, yeah, my brother up and left me and was still doing insurance stuff, but we didn't really talk about, he would give me nuggets here and there, but I was just like, we're good. We're making sales, we're doing stuff, we're getting referrals, we're doing all that. And then last year, about like a year ago, you get introduced to different Facebook groups or different groups and start meeting people, and that's when I met Faye at Club Win, which is great if there are any ladies in here to join Club Win.
There you go.
It was the amazing retreat that I went on to. I came to Orlando knowing nobody and left with so many different friends, so many ladies to reach out to with any questions. We do weekly Zoom meetings. It's just a really great thing. And what they say is you need to be around people who are going to make positive changes in your life, and you need to be around people who are going to be on your side and make you be a better person and want to grow your agency, and just kind of drown out all the background noise of that I'm not the best person. Because you can see people and they'll tell you, oh, I could sit here and be, oh wow, he does so much more than me, but my agency does just what we need to do. We're growing on our sides on how I want to grow. But we're all here to do the same thing.
Agreed 1,000%. I think it's, as much as we've already touched on networking and social media and how important that is, I think it's also important to be self-aware of your mental when you're on social media. It's so easy to say, well, look what he's doing, look what she's doing, why can't I be doing that? You don't always need to be doing what they're doing. Take the little nuggets of it.
Sorry.
What's that?
There's a lot of lies out there.
There's a lot of lies, that's right. Fake news. And we'll do questions and comments at the end, but you were so close, I couldn't help myself. But yeah, I mean, it's important to keep a check on your mental, right, when you're on social media, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in that. There's 2 other points I want to...
It defeats you. It can just bring you down, and then you're not doing the best to run your agency. You're not doing the best thing for you, your agency, because then you're just negative. It's just, yeah. For sure. So there's 2 other points I want to touch on before we start into the building of your agency or even your book of business as an independent agent. We were talking about, before the panel, is finding the right FMO. So Brad, I'm going to turn this one to you. When it comes to choosing an FMO, an IMO, NMO, however you want to market yourself in that sense, you are offering contracts to Medicare agents. Is there a one-size-fits-all FMO? What should agents be looking for?
Top comp. Highest contract, meeting over. And there's one place to find it. No, seriously, it's laughable, and we're joking about it, but sadly, it's the reality out there. I mean, there really is a lot of people. There's a large group of people that are looking for just higher comp and higher comp and higher comp, and there's so much other value to be had out there, right? Who has an FMO here that ever told them what Bob just shared with you about DIDs? Half the room didn't know what a DID was, right? That's extremely valuable. He just, in 2 minutes helped you potentially invest 10,000 where you're going to get a 2, 3, 5 times return on that investment versus maybe breaking even on your marketing efforts because you're having everybody call your cell phone, right? Like that is very valuable. How are they helping you market your business? How are they helping you scale your business, hire, fire, like the whole thing. I'm lucky to have some great partners who essentially, a long time ago, I did some things for them and they've in return helped me tremendously just being able to kind of have a roadmap and run on that track, if you will, right? Like just wide open, because that's kind of the person I am. I don't want to build the track. Put me on the track to run, I'll never stop, right? And so I think it definitely comes down to the type of person you are as well, right? Are you, when you're looking for an FMO or when you're thinking about building your agency, are you fired up to go out there and make sales and then train and coach other agents to do it? Or are you like, oh, I can't wait to, put my brand kit together and come up with the fonts and the colors and the marketing and and I can't wait to go to events and seminars and, just get around people and build the systems and processes and create the HR department and all of these things. What type of person are you? Because I think that is going to determine what you're lacking, right? Like, what are you good at and what are you not good at? And find an FMO that can help you fill those gaps. Is what I would say.
That's what I perfectly said. I know you were joking about listen, if you can get top contract, get top contract. You may not need anything else. But for most, I think we may not even have the production to get top contract or even have the conversation about top contract. So to Brad's point, look for FMOs that can help you where you need it. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's leads, maybe it's back office support, to what Bob was saying about, cost per acquisition, cost per lead, and all the nerdy stuff, which is super important, by the way. I love the nerdy stuff. The last part I want to touch on is, as you're starting, I think we've talked about cost being a huge thing, or at least we've started to touch on it. So Johnny, I'm going to turn this one to you because you're just the best person I know right now who's working age leads, which are obviously super cost effective. So can you tell us a little bit about how your technology and your CRM has helped you work age leads and why that's important early on to an agent?
I don't know that, to be quite frank, when you're working age leads, yeah, you can download them into GoGuru or whatever CRM you're utilizing, which should be GoGuru. But you can download them in there and go from there. But a lot of times, it's just as easy, even if you're not utilizing a CRM. In the beginning, you may not have the money to invest in one, or maybe your upline doesn't offer one. If you can get the age leads and just smile and dial and run through wall after wall after wall, that's really what, that's where I find success is, first off, the energy has to be right. So people get on the phone, and a lot of times, who here has made a call before? Be honest. Who here has made a call before, or calls, and didn't really want the person to pick the phone up? Right? People do that, and you have to get over that because it's not even, it doesn't make sense, you know what I mean? Like, you have to, when you're calling people, they need to answer the phone. And I think ultimately, if you just put the numbers in and call them, you're gonna figure out what you gotta say when you call them. You don't have to go straight into, summary of benefits and things like this. Build some rapport. It's all about the energy. It's a transference of energy. So when I'm calling people, I'm not, hey, this is Johnny with Bobby Brock Insurance, I'm very, very, hey, it's Johnny Brock over in Tupelo.
Do you have agents in your office though that have, because not all selling agents are the same, right? We want to train this, beat it into their heads sometimes, I feel like. But do you have any agents in your office that you see, because you're training now, you're training agents in your office at Bobby Brock?
I did about 2 months in the summer of training and, selling other products besides to Medicare beneficiaries. But as far as training is concerned, ultimately you just got to do it. And that's what I try to train people on, is just telling them hey, get out of your head, stop. If you call 100 people and a few of them tell you, to kick rocks and you suck and they hate you, who cares? I care about the people that let me help them. That's what I care about. Sure. So that's the number one thing when I'm training people, is to get out of your head and just focus on, wall after wall after wall. You're going to find somebody who needs your help. And you're also, you're going to miss some sales in there because you're not that, you haven't made enough contacts to learn how to overcome those objections. But in order to get better, you have to make the contacts. It's just contacts, is all it is. So when I'm training people, that's what I tell them. Just ask Zach over there. You just dial. It doesn't matter.
Alrighty, so great segue into building. We're starting the agency, or we're starting our book of business as an independent agent. I'd imagine we're not working out of Excel files anymore, or at least I hope not. So, Melissa, any one of these individuals, we'll go to Melissa real quick. When it comes to CRM, right, what did you guys use for a moment, and what are you using currently?
Currently, we're using Radius Bob, but I used Agency Block for
Agency Block, Radius,
5+
we're hearing,
years, yeah.
Go Guru. You don't have to spend $10,000 a month on Salesforce or HubSpot. You don't. There are affordable platforms out there that will help you become so much more efficient at managing your book of business, even while you're working the leads. And then on the back end, right, to the policy side with policy retention. So let's segue into here we started talking about starting the agent book of business and building it. Let's get into building it here, right? So how do we implement our plan? Bobby, I'll turn to you on the first one, right? Because it's great we can, in theory, come up with the best plan of action. We've drawn it up in the garage for months. We've got a little bit of coin to spend. But then when it comes to taking the first step, it feels like sometimes we just can't.
Yeah, so for me, my story is I was an LOA agent for Transact for 3 years, and I was making 6 figures selling insurance over the phones for them. And for me personally, my wife was 6 months pregnant with our second son, and I told her I got to try this, I want to be a millionaire. That's what I told her. I said, this is my chance. And so that wasn't a good time, right? I'm making 150 grand a year. It's easy for me to do that. We have a house, second kid.
Second kid on the way?
Yeah, but I told her she wouldn't like who I was gonna be if I didn't try this. So for me, I didn't have fear of failure. I think failure is investing in the future you. For all of us that own agencies, we fail every day. We make a bad hire, we try a bad lead source, we pick the wrong systems. We make bad decisions every day, but not bad decisions, but we're making learning decisions. So I would say, I really have this in my head, is I do not fear failure. I really believe that's an investment in the future me. And then also, for me personally, I'm not a perfectionist. I don't let the pursuit of perfection delay progress. I'm never looking at something right now on how it is. I'm looking at what it's going to be in 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. So I think you have to be an optimistic person to start a business. I think we have to be a little sick in the head and crazy. So I think you just have to, here's the reality. You can do it. There's more people to help than there are agents. We get to help people and make money. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it is build a wealth process. Yes. So for me, a lot of these people already took that jump, but I think you just have to continuously learn and network and learn from people. I know you guys said some negative things about social media, but there's also a lot of positive, the access to people. I'm really good friends with Danielle Kunkel at Boomer Benefits, Jagaresh, these guys, and we met at top producer trips. So you used to have to sell like $1 million of med subs to go get access to these people.
Or you could just meet them today.
Yeah. But now it's the group.
I heard Justin raise ticket prices next year, though. It might be a little.
You got a low one too now.
You never stop selling. So I think you just got to go for it. But a lot of you are already doing that, so I think it's good.
Absolutely. So that was about implementing the plan. When it comes to hiring and training, you said, well, we've all made bad hires. We've made bad choices on CRMs and things of that nature. So that's coming from a call center who has over 100 agents now. Is that where you're at? Melissa, let's turn it over to you. A smaller shop. What are you guys doing for hiring and training? Does that all fall on you? You're selling, you're hiring, you're training, you're doing the whole line? Tell us about that.
You don't do anything. It's okay. As an agency owner, I'm joking.
We should let people know that you're my sister and they haven't figured that out by the way. Jesus Lord.
But you guys have all done it too. Even before you sold to AmeriLife, you hire people, you have to try to find the right person, and you can go through so many bad interviews, or you hire someone, you're like, oh, thank goodness, I finally got an admin that's gonna work out, and then 3 days later, they don't work out. One of the things I learned in the past year too was just and I'm sure because it seems like a mixed group of people here, but don't wait to hire the next person. Like hire somebody because that way then I can sell more, or I can focus on my agents more and listen to their calls and see what they're doing, and I can be a better like agent manager for them. What was your question? Sorry.
Good answer, either way.
You got so distracted about telling me how bad I am at my job, apparently. Let's talk about the hiring and the training process. I think it's different for each agency owner, depending on if you have a 10-man shop, a 50-man shop, 100-man
And so
shop.
what makes us different, I know from these guys up here, not from many of you in the room, but is that my agents work from home, so we're all remote. So while some of them may live close to me, others kind of live close to my brother, but I try to give them in-person training for like a week or two. They just come to my house and work, and they can listen to me talk on the phone, when we're side by side and do stuff. And then, we've created a bunch of training videos for them to watch. We put it on our, like a private YouTube channel, and we try to just, and then once they're gone on their own, you have daily check-ins and do that stuff with them, where I know their training is a little bit different, but.
So I'm going to give a tangible thing too, sorry. So processes is the answer. Like figure out process. Process for onboarding, process for interviewing, process, workforce management, how are you going to manage this person when you hire them, build a sales leadership team, develop your KPIs, make sure you can get the data fed into like a Tableau or a system or your CRM that you can consume it. But you have to have a process for everything. For me to scale, that was everything. I was not a script person, now I'm a script person. I'm a process, we have a process for everything, and it's documented. If you don't document your processes, so there's different journey maps you can use. We use Lucid charts. So everything we do has a process. If I got hit by a bus, if I don't, but everything would still be fine, because everything so just document your process. As if you can, and develop those processes. And then you're gonna have to go back and change those processes because you're gonna get better. And then for us on training, we have an 11-week training program. We hire unlicensed agents. We have them front for 2 weeks on the phones. So they're outbound and they transfer inbound calls to our licensed agents. That was really good for us. This was our first year doing that because there's expensive attrition and there's cheaper attrition. Expensive attrition is when you hire them, get them licensed, and find out 4 months later that they can't sell, or they can't come to work, or they can't use a computer. So we do some tests up front, but we still would find that out later. So now we do the 11-week program where they front on Johnny Brock's Sheep's leads for a little while, and then if they can come to work, learn the systems, and transfer that to agents, then they go, we pay for them to get licensed for a week. Then they go to the licensing class, and the following week, they front half the day, and they study half the day, and then they have to pass the test. And then they go through a 3-week Medicare Bob training, which is where my team trains them on our program for 3 weeks, and then then they hit the phones.
How often are they getting to see Medicare Bob?
How often they see me? Yeah. Not as much as I would like, but oh yeah, videos too. No. I mean, I have a really good training department that we built the curriculum together, so it's good.
I give him a hard time about Medicare Bob because you could go on his old YouTube channel where he has hundreds of thousands and I think millions of views on some of yours, man. It's crazy. So he started it on Facebook and YouTube before it was really a thing. So I got to give him a hard time about always making sure his agents see him. He's online everywhere. Let's turn it over to Johnny.
Yeah, let me say something real quick. Okay, so
I saw you with the mic.
yeah, I just
You can buy this suit.
I'll sell it to you right now.
He sells everything.
All right, so my brother is the agency builder, right, within my organization. So I'm in the business, he's on the business, right? So Medicare Bob's talking about stuff right now that's way over my head. And honestly, I think a lot of y'all hopefully are in more of a kind of where my mindset is as far as the day-to-day grind is concerned. So ultimately, I think the best thing to do for somebody who's starting out and they're on the ground running, and as far as training, or maybe you're trying to train a team, but you're not like overseeing 100 call center agents. It's a smaller operation. Plug into GoGuru University, and then also just get with me on a more direct training session, one-on-one, and I'll kind of explain to you how you can help these people call these age leads and make a lot of money for yourself and them as well.
And help a lot of people too.
And then after you get off the phone with him, I just want to speak to one of the mistakes I think I see most agents that are in this phase, what he's talking about, the mistakes I see making, or the mistake I see most often is hiring things you don't want to do, right? It's not, we're not hiring people to do the jobs that we don't want to do. We're hiring people to do the jobs that are below your pay grade, right, where you're at now, right? It's just there's a negative return on your investment when you're spending time, give me an example, like,
I'll give you one. So when I work with smaller agents, but when I work with, how many of you are an agent right now still selling and you're trying to scale your company? Anybody? Okay, so your mindset might be, I need to go hire another agent, right? That's what you're thinking maybe. It's wrong. You need to hire an admin person.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to sell as good as you. There's a reason why you're successful. I mean, you can eventually scale that, but to your point, sorry, but your first hire should not be 4 agents. I talked to somebody who's like, oh, I'm selling 1,000 apps a year. I'm going to go hire 4 more agents. And I'm like, why? Like, they're not going to sell as good as you. They're going to cost you money. They're all not going to be very good. You maybe get 1 out of those 4 if you're really good at training. And now you're going to, instead of writing 1,000 apps, you're going to write 400 apps, to Brad's point. Instead of, you would just go hire, if you're writing 1,000 apps now and handling your admin and handling customer service and all this stuff, go hire an admin person for $20 an hour to call and do your, did you get your, your onboarding phone calls, to call and do your Part D. Like, you should not do a single Part D this AEP. Not one. Like, you should hire someone to do that, okay? And then you sell 2,000 policies.
Can you find them for me? I've been trying for like 2 years.
The admin,
what's somebody not licensed?
how much are you trying to pay? An hour? No, for real.
So I started at like 15 to 18 and it's not working.
Pay 25.
I don't,
Pay 25 an hour.
I'm trying to work it in my budget.
No, but that is in your budget. Because if you can find that, hear me out. Pay them 25 an hour and go sell 200 more apps.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, just pay them. For $25 an hour, you're going to get a really good person. And that is a lot of money. And I'm not like, I know you're like, okay, you're up there now. And yeah, I get it. But I was you. And I'm just telling you, it was 10 years ago, so I could get people at $18 an hour, so that was better. But
inflation, Bobby, it's a thing, man.
But my point though, the concept is let's say it's 23 an hour, but get that person, because it's not going to cost you money, it's going to make you money, to Brad's point, because now you're going to get 200 more sales, or you're going to figure out that next gravy campaign that you can run. So, sorry.
You're not going to be doing all the grunt work that we're still doing. Even me, as I had an admin, and we let her go. And I let her go right before COVID, and it wasn't even COVID related, but then we went through 2 more in the past year, and it was just like, when you don't want to babysit them, like if I'm having to call a carrier and do this and check up on all the clients, especially if you've been in business, for over 5 years, you've got your book of business. Now my new admin that we've hired, it's like amazing. She picked up like that, and it's like, any calls that I get that are customer service related, I'm like, call this lady, can you call this person, and it's done. Like, it's a relief off of you, and if you have any agents underneath you, not having to call a carrier and be like, what do you need now? Like, to have somebody else do that, like, it's totally worth it.
Plus, you're saying quality of person too. Have you documented every customer care journey for that person? Do you have a script for every scenario? Yes, no? Okay, so is it a bad hire, or is that person not being prepared for their job? Maybe a little both? Probably a little both, right? So you have to document, like for us, every customer care scenario, there's a script for them to follow. So it's, now that didn't happen overnight, and it sucked. I had to go into Word, and every time a customer care situation comes up, I would type it out. But that goes to documenting and like procedural, like, do you have UHC's phone number ready, available to get that ID card? Right? Like, and are you giving that person the ability to have a notebook where they can open it and call the right person and help them do their job well, and also give that customer a better experience? So, Brad, I totally took your topic.
You can easily have somebody that they're talking about paying $18 to $23 an hour. You can easily have them pay for themselves, in my opinion. You can have them call your current book with a little script, which I hate scripts, but like you can put one together for them. I don't know if you're heavy MA or heavy med stuff, but you can put them on a cross-sell script and pay for themselves very easily. Especially like a Heartland Hip or something like that, pays very well and pays quick, easily pay for themselves.
Where can they get contracted?
It's a trick question, Johnny. Goddamn.
They already know the answer.
And then to follow up, I think we're doing questions in a minute. To follow up,
We're gonna hold questions until the end. We're gonna allow for about 10 minutes in the questions. That way we can pass around the mic. It's all being recorded, so as much as I'd love to run to each of you, I just gave these two bias because they were in the front row. Terribly sorry.
sweating too bad.
I am, man. It's hot.
Joe, where's the AC at, brother? Oh my gosh.
I know,
I'm a small dude and I'm sweating. I'm gonna be...
right?
No, I hope he's drowned.
All right, we sweat. All right, guys. Between the talker and Bobby and the salesman and Johnny, I tell you, I don't know. So I think what we started to get on is like actionable items that these folks can take away, right? I mean, Bobby and Johnny started to hit into that. Let's talk about the smaller agencies. Let's talk about referral partners. Brad, do you work much referral partners? I know you guys are starting to scale a little bit bigger. Can you tell us about some of the referral partners you have or how you initiated those partnerships?
Yeah, I mean, I started off telling you, I really believe in the power of networking and being in rooms like this and being a relationship. I mean, it'll happen organically, right? It should happen organically to an extent. Otherwise, you're not doing your job at these types of functions, right? But, your local community is huge, right? So I don't know, I mean, most people in here are probably doing Medicare. I love, senior placement companies, right? You've got, there's tons of different options out there, but it starts by being involved in your local community. Relationships and networking have been the most crucial and key thing in my business, but it also depends on your goal, right? I just to go off topic a little bit, because that's kind of the theme, I thought we were going into building more, and when the most important thing as you look at building your agency is what is your goal, right? What's your end goal? Because we get up here and we talk about these things like we know what your end goal is, and we don't, right? I mean, Bob's end goal is very different than somebody out there, right? Or whatever, mine or Johnny's or whoever's, right? So you have to start with the end in mind, and I think that starting there and working backwards is a huge thing when you're talking about building, because some of you may want to build a legacy business to hand down to your kids. Others may want to scale and exit. Maybe you want 5 employees, maybe you want 50, and you've got to paint that picture before you ever even start to build or get a referral partner.
Well, yeah, and referral partners probably aren't going to scale a 100-man shop like Bob's. Like it might be helpful for Johnny's or Melissa's agency, right? So Melissa, real quick to you on the referral partners. I know you guys have started getting more involved in the community locally, as what Brad was saying there. What have you guys done more recently?
I don't know.
Oh,
We were laughing, sorry. So locally, basically, I'm just down the street in Titusville. So over the last probably 6 to 8 months, I've just tried to go and get in more local, because there's really nobody where I live that does just Medicare. Like, yeah, you have your State Farm agency that will sell Medicare, but there's really nobody else doing it. So recently, we put up a couple of billboards. I've always been active in my community. Like, I've sat on the board with the Chamber of Commerce and done stuff, but just getting more like local and referral leads, because once you don't have to like pay for leads anymore or try to figure out Facebook leads or SEO or what I'm gonna do, I don't know who in here, work with your financial advisors. If you get inside with an Edward Jones office, like that's gonna be money for you. I've done that recently in the past few months. Doctor's offices, pharmacies, and I got a lot of these ideas too from Club Win, like the pharmacies. I'm like, I don't want to go into a pharmacy and talk to people, because then I'm just going to be doing drug plans all day. And like he said, like I'm so over drug plans. I don't, we kind of have like a succession plan for AEP and drug plans. 5 years ago, that was a different story, but it's really just marketing yourself and, going up to people when you're out and about and talking with them about Medicare and sharing it with your friends and family and, that kind of thing. Even though some referrals can be a pain, but if they're your family or, but.
I would say for referral partners too, make sure that you have a separate way to track it. Because a couple of ways, we do have tons of referral partners. We have a separate DID for them. We have an invoice. We pay what's called a CPA deal. Anybody know what that is with referral partners? Okay, so we pay $150 for an enrollment. So I don't pay for the referral, I don't pay for the lead. I have an invoice at the end of each month. I have phone calls with those relationships quarterly, and we pay them $150 per enrollment. So if you send me 10 referrals and only 5 end up into enrollments, you're going to get 5 times $150. So that's something, it's called a CPA deal, cost per acquisition deal is what that stands for, and most referral partners are receptive to it.
I also like the CPC,
Non-licensed.
the cookie per acquisition deal.
You asked the question, can I do it with non-licensed referrals?
Yeah.
I'm talking about financial institutions, but there's not a reason compliant-wise you couldn't pay them that I'm thinking of.
So a lot of your referrals, they're coming from like banks and stuff, like if you're working with more financial institutions.
Financial institutions,
And that's
life
very
insurance
common,
companies, like final expense shops that don't want to go through all the hassles of all the hurdles compliance-wise that we have to go through. So we pay, yeah, you're just paying a company. I mean, it's no different like a lead vendor that you're paying. We do it, so.
There are maximum allowable amounts on referral fees is probably what Michelle's referring to, I think, at the scale that Bob does it to, and I don't want to speak out of turn for you, but you get into administration fees and service fees and other ways that we can, say, hey, we provided a service and here's your payment for it. But I think even for the day-to-day agent, I mean, I've heard plenty of times where, you're just picking your top referral partners, every quarter, or at the end of every year, and you send them a nice little gift basket, a little wine basket, a little cookie, brownies. If they're more local, then stopping in and just dropping off something to them and saying, hey guys, thank you so much. It's National Donut Day. Thank you for what you do for us. Leave your little business cards there and walk out. It doesn't have to be anything of sizable matter. It's just a gesture, really. I think what all these people would agree on here is keeping those relationships at the end of the day.
For referrals on my end, something that, and I don't do this a lot as much as I should, but being under my brother, I've learned that a lot of people will go in and just be like, hey, I help Medicare beneficiaries, here's my card, and then dip. That's not much value that you're providing to those pharmacies or those doctor's offices, so focus on how you can help them, make it about them, like if you're going into a pharmacy, ask them, hey, which drug plans work the best for you? I've got a lot of clients and people that are, use y'all's pharmacy, so I'm just curious what exactly would be the best for me to place them with this annual enrollment period. Which plan do y'all prefer, right? And just, build a relationship that way. That's kind of what I've gotten out of referrals.
For sure. And I think one thing, we might have even learned it from your brother or whoever, maybe Danielle, someone, maybe Galen, someone that we, watch regularly. But you don't have to just ask for referrals on sales. Ask for referrals on every call. I'm sure we've all had those calls where we hang up with people and they're like, oh, well, thank you. You were so nice. You were awesome to talk to, but I went with my local agent down the street. And they don't even know the agent's name really, right? And so if they really enjoy talking with you that much and they just decided to go with the local agent for XYZ reason or some other agent, ask that person for a referral. Mr. Jones, if I did my job so good and you felt so comfortable with me, just keep me in mind for your neighbor or your friend or your family. You don't have to just ask for the referral on a sale necessarily. So I know we're coming up on time and we've got compliance to talk about, and I know Bobby's a good talker at that. And I told you earlier, I'm not great at talking legislation. But we also want to leave time for Q&A because I can already tell there's a handful of questions out there. So let's get right into it. This AEP, we've got a new disclaimer that we have to read. And for field agents, remote agents, hybrid agents, whatever you want to call us that aren't in a call center, right? We have to store call recordings now. And we have to have a platform that allows us to do that. I know there's a lot of us that still are using cell phones to make calls to our clients. And that's a scary thing when we think about it from the agent standpoint. What am I supposed to do now? So Bobby, I'm gonna start with you and let you tell the folks in the crowd, A, about how you're implementing the disclaimer already in your group, and B, the platform that you're using that could be helpful for field agents in that sense and the enhancements that are coming out.
Yeah, so I think the spirit behind the regulation is good. Who here watches the Joe Namath commercial, right? And we just cringe. This is designed to combat that. So what you're seeing now, effective October 1st, and if your FMO hasn't told you this, they need to. Anytime you purchase a lead or you're doing marketing activities, you have to submit your materials to a portal, HPMS portal. It's a CMS website. And your FMO should do this for you, and you're gonna get a multi-plan identification tag. So every advertisement now has to have, it's called an SMID tag. So every marketing piece, direct mail pieces, your website, all that stuff now has to go through a portal. And And when you get that, the SMID, it says like multi-carrier _001. You're going to start seeing this on advertisements. Okay? And then for you to be in compliant, make sure when you are talking to a lead partner, if you're going to purchase leads, you should always get the marketing piece they're using, but also make sure that they have that SMID number. Now, the SMID identification does not mean the piece is approved. It just means it's trackable. So that's what they're trying to do. We're trying to track the advertisements to get rid of CTMs. Everybody here know what a CTM is? No. Okay, it's a complaint to Medicare from a consumer. Okay? Good. Yeah, so, yeah, it's good if you don't know what it is. It means you don't have one. But if you have a CTM, that's a complaint to Medicare. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to track where are these complaints coming from. Okay, so just make sure that's new, effective October 1st. So make sure that if you're working with lead partners, they have the SMID number, and then make sure that that they're getting that marketing piece approved. So I'm interested to see what happens to our buddy Joe there.
And that goes for folks that you're buying leads from as well, right? Like, don't just put it in their hands and say, oh, you guys got approved. Make
sure you get that SMID number, otherwise you're out of compliance if you're going to buy leads. Okay? You also have to now submit your web pages too if you're going to collect a lead form or a Facebook ad. It's supposed to have an SMID number. Now, going to the disclaimer, okay, there's the new disclaimer, the general disclaimer, I think it's called, where you have to say, unless you do represent every plan, you have to say to them, I do not represent every plan in your area. If you'd like to look at all your plans, you can call 1-800-MEDICARE or go to medicare.gov to review all the plans in your area. So I tried everything. I had a great idea at first with compliance. I said, oh, this is fine. We already say we represent the top companies, so we'll just rephrase it a little bit. We'll say, hey, I would read that. My first goal was to read that disclosure and say, but we have vetted out the top carriers in your area, and that's what we're going to talk about today. That didn't get approved. Can't change it. It's got to be verbatim, and it's got to be within 60 seconds.
The first minute of the sales call.
It's got to be within 60 seconds of the sales call. Okay? So it's like, okay, this was a challenge, right? We talked about process and obstacles in business, and I'm like, all right, so within the first 60 seconds of the sales call, and I have to read this verbatim. All right, so where can we put this in our script? Because we do a lot of phone, we sell over the phone, so in the first 60 seconds, if I don't add any value and I tell you I can't help you, call Medicare, what are they gonna do? They're going to call Medicare. So here's what we've done. It got approved by compliance. We convert about 15.2% on our leads, which is pretty good for a large call center. And we have not seen a dip on our conversion rate. And we put the disclosure in between our privacy policy and our scope of appointment. So we go privacy policy, general disclosure, scope, and we haven't seen a drop. And the cool thing is it's within 60 seconds of the sales call. That's key. That is key, because the sales call starts when we're about to read the scope, because that's when we're going to go into plan specifics. So our sales process is intro, fact find, presentation, application, button up the sales. So we can still do our intro and we can still do our fact finding before reading that disclosure. That's I think that's clutch. And so I was really happy that compliance agreed that the sales call starts right when I'm about to read that scope. So that's how we're dealing with it. I'm going to be Johnny Brock here. So I am relaunching Medicare Monsters September 1st, and I will have approved scripts for everybody if you'd like to get them.
And that's why they're the best at what they do. They just never stop, right? And so I think it's key, though, you said your FMO a couple times. So no matter who your FMO is, be sure that you're reaching out to your FMO partner and saying, what are you providing me to have a successful and compliant AEP? I can tell you the big ones at the top, the AmeriLife, the IMGs, and everyone underneath of them, they're using platforms like Sunfire and Connecture that allow for multi-plan comparisons and enrollments. From everything that we've seen.
Oh, sorry. So also you have to record calls now. Okay? I know we're fighting that with the petition online. Okay, but it's happening. WellCare just sent out their amendment last week. They're going to do it. So I think that's what I was talking about, the definition of a call center agent. Welcome. I think if you do any business over the phone, now you're going to be grouped in with us at some point. I don't think it's going to be this year, but it doesn't make sense to me that we have to record calls if they're not eventually going to queue it. So just so you know, as a call center, a lot of times call center agents get a bad rap. I'd love for you guys to see what our agents have to go through in order to do a sale. Because for the good call centers that are doing it the right way, I promise you, we're reading a lot more than you have to read right now. Okay, we have to read anything you see in writing, we have to read, okay? So, yeah, it's a lot. So sometimes people online give us a bad rep, and just like there's bad local agents who take advantage of people, I'm sure there's bad call centers too. I don't know how they stay open long, because we have audits every year. We have to send calls to Medicare directly through CTMs and through our carrier, so I don't know how they stay open, but we do it the right way. We QA our calls, we have to, we go through audits. I think that has to be coming down the road for you guys that are hybrid agents, because otherwise, why are you recording your call?
Right.
Eventually, I think next year you're going to start seeing where you have to read a scope, you have to read the privacy policy. And then as far as a solution goes for recording the calls, we use MediaVault.
Yep.
MediaVault, it's really cheap. Don't use okay, here's a tip I learned the hard way, it cost me $100,000, okay? Do not lean on your telephony system to record your phone calls, because they charge you a lot of money for storage. So what you want to do is you want to have an FTP, everybody knows FTP, file transfer protocol, okay? Like a FileZilla, it's free. So what you want to do is like a weekly transfer on your calls from your telephony system into your MediaVault or whatever you're going to use to store your calls for cheaper storage. And then as far as cell phones go, you can still use your cell phones, by the way. You can have a DID ring to your phone and record the call, just so you guys know. So investigate some of these and last thing I'll say, and I'll be quiet for a second at least, but we were talking about FMOs and what makes a good FMO. I think we need to elevate the FMOs in our field. I don't think top contracts are as important. I don't want to write 100 deals and not be in compliance and not have systems and not understand marketing and not understand the finances behind the business because I have a top level. I want somebody who, I don't care, make a bigger spread on me, but give me value.
Yeah.
Give me systems, give me consulting, help me understand marketing channels. Don't just give me shitty leads, sorry. Those don't work. Teach me how to go get leads. Have a workshop with me every quarter or every month on how to generate a Facebook lead. So that's really what I'm trying to do, not as a plug, but that's what I'm trying to do with Medicare Monsters, is fill in that gap of being a sophisticated business operator and partner with agents, because I just think that we have to elevate the FMOs. And AmeriLife's committed to doing that, and that's part of the reason that I'm working with them.
How many agents in here feel like they could take their book of business or the agency to the next level if they had more support and resources from their FMO? All right. I mean, not bad. I mean, less hands means your FMO's doing their job, right? But I know for some of us, I know Melissa, you and I have talked about it, we're at a point where it's like, man, we're there. We need a better help. We need a better push behind us now with the small team. And so I think to the point we were starting to get at earlier was it's not a one size fits all, and certainly understanding your vision, working it backwards, I think is what Brad mentioned earlier, knowing that not everyone's gonna have the same landing spot. Not everyone needs or wants a 100 agent or 500 agent call center. Some people are good with just themselves. Even with that said, let's make sure that we're having a plan, sticking to it, being ready to pivot, keeping great relationships like with the folks in this room and the people on stage here. It's just been an awesome time getting you guys together. So let's wrap it up a little bit. Maybe we can push one more, just going on down the panel. Melissa, I'll start with you. And I know Bob had made mention that, don't rely on your telephony platform to record the calls. I know you've been using RingCentral for years and then pushing them off to like a Google Docs. So getting off the call recordings, let's just try to summarize it up. What would be the key takeaways or key points that you want to leave the room with today about your agency and where you're going for next year at this AEP?
Wow, that's a lot.
That was a loaded question, wasn't it? That was great. Can you just summarize up the last 90 minutes? It'd be awesome.
My goal, I guess, for AEP is just to come out stronger than last year. I mean, yeah, we have to record calls. We've always been recording calls. Yeah, you have to add in that, which you guys have already started doing, but sometimes we can just make mountains out of molehills. So it's just something small that we have to do now until we can go and fight the fight and get it changed for all of us, I don't know, we talk about FMOs. We've had the same FMO. We have a couple FMOs, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. The same thing with your leads. You want to kind of try out different things. You don't want to have everything, just rely on one thing for everything.
Awesome, thank you.
I feel like I talked a lot, so go ahead, John.
Yeah, we're gonna skip you right now.
All right, so I just want to, compliance is like my least favorite conversation, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you. And the main reason is because I think that what happens is people allow this to get in the way of them actually helping people. They get in their heads and they're like, got all this stuff and, I gotta get my compliance right. But ultimately, contact people and help them out. That's just how I feel about it, to be completely frank with y'all. I always cover my tail, always help the beneficiary the right way. I've written over 500 MAPDs in the past 2 years and I've never had a complaint. I've told people that I'm gonna jinx myself. But, that's just the truth of it, and I'm always doing the right thing for them, and it hasn't, backfired on me. And as far as the call recordings, as she said, we've already been recording our calls, so there's not much that's changing there. And then the disclaimer that we have to say in the first 60 seconds or whatever, I have come up with a way to add that into my opening pitch. It just sounds like something that I'm just saying. So you can get with me on that on the back end, and I will show you what I'm talking about. Because
that
right
gonna be
now,
available on
too many
Twitter?
people look at me, I can't think about it. I'd have to role play with somebody. You want to role play? No?
We may have time for role play after Q&A. Brad,
Who wants to role play? Anybody out there want to role play?
we'll hold on. We'll come back to that. Let's let Brad wrap it up, and then we'll do Q&A and maybe a little role play.
Yeah, I have no idea what the question was, but it was like, in a closing thought. Just closing thoughts. I think, first of all, I don't know, Bob, have you ever been to a NAHU event?
No, this is my first event.
Johnny, you haven't either, right?
Correct.
And you haven't, and I haven't either. So the cool thing is that there is this community. Obviously, Bobby's been online for a long time with YouTube. Johnny, Melissa. We've all met at these events that are, not necessarily, not even necessarily making a difference in the industry the way that NAHU is, right? I truly believe that. I think that the difference that's being made out there in our industry through NAHU and fahu or fahu, however you want to say it, it's tremendous. And so go tell people about this, and let's be community driven, because I think that the insurance industry as a whole, especially with like mom and pop shop and independent agents, can look at a call center with 100 reps and think, so these are the people stealing all of our clients, or they could, vice versa. They could look at, independent agents out there online, like, oh yeah, this guy's acting like he knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't know anything. And it's just kind of counterproductive to the mission, I think. So I would love to see this chapter grow, or this whole thing grow. I'm excited. I know I'm committed to being at more of these events. I think the sentiment's been echoed, but it starts in the room, and then it has to be expanded outside of this room, right? We've got to contact our local community, our local agents, those around us, and bring them to these events and stress the importance of them. So I just would leave you with that. Like, let's leave here and take action in our industry and,
Next year, all the chairs are
make a
filled.
difference. Right, yeah, let's fill this room, right? Fill this room and then some, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't disagree. And man, I appreciate everyone being on the panel and being a part of fahu, think tomato, however you want to say it. Now you got a new name. I can't even keep up with all the changes. Let's pass it around for some Q&A. I saw some hands up around the time. I've got Mr. Joe helping me out. Excellent over there.
Guys, thanks.
We should be live on 4. There we go.
Am I live now? There we go. Guys, thanks so much. I thought that the group had a lot of acronyms, but boy, did I learn a few more today. Sweet Mary. Listen, from a small GA who has come, almost full circle to what she's doing, and listening to the chaos that goes with reporting and tracking and trying to find the right, the right admin, and just how do you pull back, reevaluate, and get to the next level where you can be and you want to be? How do you pull back and just kind of reset and recharge?
I'd say put one foot in front of the other and don't worry too much about stuff that you don't need to focus on right now. One foot in front of the other.
Yeah, paralysis by analysis is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Anyone else want to touch on that?
I go back, document your systems, measure your cost per acquisition, see where you can leverage that to scale. You know, I talked to a lot of agents who would say, oh, Bob, I did 400 apps last year. My cost per acquisition was $200. And I said, why didn't you do 1,500 apps at $400? So sometimes we limit ourselves. So really document your processes. You're a GA, if you're, like he said, one foot in front of the other, but what you're already doing, I just, document and learn and to reinvest in your business. So like data is key. So you need to reinvest in how to get that data out of your business, because otherwise you're not going to be able to make intelligent decisions. So there's different ways you can do that. You might have 2 or 3 different systems. There's a program called Tableau that you can use. Tableau. It's like Tableau, I think. So Tableau will allow you to pull from 3 or however many different systems you want, and you can do it through a SQL data feed into Tableau, and then you have everything in one dashboard. You can hire someone for 10 grand to do everything I just said, but those are the systems to do, because you got to get data. Data's king. So for you to scale, I think you need to get it. Do you have a good handle on data yet or not yet?
I'll say 50-50.
Then invest in getting that data, and then don't limit your growth, is would be my advice.
And the investment may be somebody like Steven Martinez, who is our chief marketing officer. My brother found a fantastic guy that's his right-hand man that does that stuff that Justin wasn't that good at. So I don't know how many people you have working with you, but ultimately maybe look for somebody that's more nerdy when it comes to numbers and things like that, and it's not a big salesperson, and partner with them, figure out how y'all can help each other.
Issue is the succession plan was not set in place. So I know that most of your agents are LOA, but what are you going to do to protect your book of business once you either decide to retire or you pass on?
So is your licensing structure, so this is really big advice. Make sure you get your agency licensed, and you need to be an LOA to your agency.
My agency's already licensed in 4 states.
Right, so, and how are you paid from the carrier? Are you paid to you, or are you paid to the agency?
To the agency.
Okay, so.
But what I'm asking is, how are you guys going to protect it? And what could you share with the group, just besides what you're telling me?
Protect it how?
Yeah.
So if something were to happen to
Like-
us?
If something were to happen to you, so, okay, Medicare, Bob, you said you're about to have your second child. You want to make sure your second child can go to college.
Oh, I already did, no, I got you. So yeah, your agency's protected, because if you get, I think if you died, there's a certain amount of time that you get a new principal to the agency, and your whole book will be protected.
But you want to make sure, okay, so my instance,
Oh, this is a great question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, a lot of people don't protect their agency.
So for my
Something
instance, when my dad passed away, I had 3.5 weeks before AEP started to get the agency license in all 4 states, all recontracted and be named principal. You can't wait. What I'm saying is, yeah, you got 6 months for certain carriers that will not be mentioned here, but you have to have that succession plan already in place so your loved ones don't have to do what I had to do.
Right, and that's a great
This
point
is,
that we.
I sold, my exit strategy was to sell, so I sold.
But now you're starting again. But that's a great point that we didn't talk about. And there's so many agents out there who don't protect it if you don't have your agency licensed. So the main point is to get your agency licensed. And for me, I mean, for my family, like I went and got a will and a trust and everything, but everything is all outlined of what's going to happen. But I'm paid underneath the agency, and then my brother's licensed, and but you want to protect it. I mean, just not too long ago, one of my friends, she had posted on there, one of her agents had passed away and they had nothing protected. So, I mean, most of the time you think you're going to leave a legacy to your family, and if you can't protect it, they're not getting anything,
Well,
you worked hard for,
The key thing is the agency, I think, is what we're all agreeing on. And I think some agents, GAs, skip that process because it's an additional cost. Or maybe it's just an overwhelming process. It's really not, I promise, but go to the state.
And if you don't have it set up, talk to your FMO and get it set up. That would be the first thing I would do.
Absolutely. Agency.
But I see your point, you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
You have 3 weeks, so I guess the other thing is, get somebody licensed maybe, and have, I don't know, because that's a challenge.
Are you by yourself? Is it just you? Just you? Yeah.
What about your child though? If you want to leave it to your child, they can't take the class and get licensed?
None of my kids want to do insurance.
Yeah, but show them your bank account and say, when I die, if you want this money, you just gotta get licensed to do CEs. I'll do it.
I'll be your kid. Live mic, number 4.
Get on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know the people who have written up in their life insurance that it goes to somebody else, and that individual pays them, that family member's once a month, X amount of dollars. And it's all written up and signed by the courts, the whole 9 yards. But listen, like,
I don't know if I'd go that way, but yeah.
well, the same situation though.
Right.
I mean, you have a family member who doesn't want to do insurance, who has no interest in the business. You still want to make sure you leave a legacy for the family
But
member.
they don't have to do the business, right? Like, it's go take a class for a week, get a 70,
And just keep your license.
and then just keep the license up.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I don't have a great solution.
yeah.
Faye agrees.
My kid doesn't want to do insurance, but I'm sure.
Medicare Bob, your story is almost identical to mine. Left my cushy corporate job with a 9-month-old. My wife, for some reason, had faith in me and said,
I see you still got the ring on, so you did okay.
So, fast forward, I think I'm 7-8 years now, got 7 agents, probably around 3,000 clients. At the point where it's like, okay, what's the next step? And in today's discussion, I realized exactly what it is. It's the ID. So, because I'm marketing everything on the same telephone number right now. That's changing immediately. So I'm hoping you're planting the seed, I'll grow the tree, but tell me where to go to get this DID started.
Your telephony system. Who's your telephony provider?
I'm using Google Voice.
Google Voice will get you the ID.
Really? Okay.
If they don't, if you Google how to get a DID, you'll find 5 ways to do it.
Okay.
We use Nice in Contact as our telephony system.
Okay.
For me, it was just talking to my rep and saying, so we have 100 numbers now. And you know how I learned this DID thing? Because I screwed up. I did the same thing. I was doing Facebook and YouTube ads.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's, digital's working. Well, what part of digital's working,
Okay,
right?
that's
And so
exactly right.
anything I share with people is because I made the mistake, or I talked to somebody else smarter than me and they helped me avoid that mistake.
Okay.
But yeah,
Refresh my memory on what the acronym is.
destination, dedicated something.
I've been on the call center space for 3 years, man. You looking at me, I'm,
Yeah,
They just call it the ID.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
sorry. I think I have that too.
Can I just go back to when you were talking about the referral fee, and you were talking in essence with financial planners, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So could that also be a law firm, if a law firm were to refer somebody to?
I have disability law firms that are people, so they'll get
And it's
disability.
kind of like the equivalent of what a bird dog would be when somebody refers somebody to a car dealership and they get the $150 bird dog.
Yep.
Is that, would that be, and what were the initials, and what did you call that?
I call it it's a cost per acquisition deal. So instead of paying a cost per lead for the referral, I told them, because look, sometimes they send you bad referrals and they don't sell. So I don't want to pay. So to their point, whenever you build a referral source, you got to lead with your value add. So, when I'm talking to a financial firm, I don't go in there like they're doing me a favor by sending me clients. I build the value of, look, you do annuities, you do this, you do that. Your customers need Medicare. I don't do any of those financial instruments.
Yeah.
I have the documentation I can sign for you, says I won't cross-sell your customers. But if you don't help them with Medicare, which you don't want to, because there's no money in Medicare, right? That's what I'll tell them.
Set aside.
We call it the margarita money. They don't need the margarita.
You don't need it. So look, here's the deal. You send me your customers, I'm not going to cross, because if you don't send them to me, they're going to go looking for Medicare somewhere else. And what if that person takes your annuity money?
Yeah.
So that's the value add. So it's a cost per acquisition deal. I get the disposition data
Yeah.
every month. So if they send me 100 leads, here's what happened on all 100 leads. We got 10 sales. Here's $1,500 for those 10 sales.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I think we got, how are we doing on time, Dave?
That's it. Last question.
Last question.
In regard to referrals, I thought there is a limit in the amount of money that you can give, and 150 seems rather excessive. I don't know for sure, but I remember hearing years ago it used to be no more than 25 bucks. Now, if it's more, I don't know, but I'm just saying, I don't know that it's 150 or whatever the number you're using.
Yeah, so that's a referral person, like that's if a customer gives you a referral.
Right.
This is a business-to-business relationship.
And that's okay, so
Yes.
that's
It's compliant. Our legal team is like,
Thank you.
Can you imagine how many, is this on?
I know he had a question too, and I feel bad because I think he raised it.
I don't need the mic, but Medicare Bob, Part D conundrum.
We're recording. I love your phone voice, though. We don't need a mic.
The Part D conundrum during AEP. Have you run the numbers, your numbers guy, on I try to tell myself for every 4 Part Ds I do, I get 1 good referral out of it, just to make myself sleep at night. Part D drug plans. Have you run those actual numbers and come up with like a tangible data point on, for every, to justify doing these Part Ds? I mean, I can't say no to somebody who needs help with a Part D, I do them, but is there some help there or some data you've run?
So I actually learned something from Brad, or what Ken said. We're guilty of not asking for referrals when we're servicing the customers. So that's something, I started today, when you come to these events, and guys, you're sitting there, it's like, okay, sign the CE thing, like, what are these guys talking about? Like, but if there's one thing we can take away, I think that's important. My takeaway was, we're missing it. So I don't have a good answer for you, I'm sorry. I know they organically happen, probably like with you, but it's not part of our script, and it definitely should be. Because when you're servicing customers, that's probably a better time than even when you're selling them to ask. It's not even in our customer service script, but it's gonna be tomorrow. So that's my miss, but I don't have a good answer for you. No, so he was justifying the time he spent on Part Ds, thinking like, hey, every 3 or 4 I do, I'm gonna get another referral. And that's a Part D referral, which is probably a med-sup referral, which makes it worth it. The other thing it's worth it is if you don't service your customers Part D, we have a whole script that we help them with Part D during AEP, and then we take the Medigap from another agent. And when they go, yeah, but I have an agent that I like, we beat that agent up. Well, if your agent's not helping you with Part D, are they really your agent? We'll help you every year, right? And I've done that since I've ever gotten my phone, so I don't have a good answer, I apologize. But my takeaway, so thanks to Ken and Brad, is I'm definitely gonna start doing that.
It's not that, I mean, I said, we're still going to continue to do Part D, but if I were going to go back to 2016 when I was sending out letters with the Part D thing for them to fill it out and send it back to me, we're just marketing it a different way. Like, I'm still going to have those clients that call me every year, but you're only going to spend so much time on, you have your problem child clients where they're going to beat you in the face until you're like, fine, I don't care what Part D plan you take, So it's just, minimizing your time on that part of it. It was what should have been more clear on.
Great question.
For sure. I know Dave told me we're up on time, but drinks don't start until 5:30, right, Dave?
That's true.
All right, so we've got does everyone, there was a major carrier that stopped commissions on prescription drug plans this year. Is everyone aware of that carrier?
Is that WellCare?
I'm not going to say the name of the carrier by any means, but make sure that you are aware of the carrier. And I think as we're all talking up here, and the nuggets that you can take away is having a plan of action. We're not saying stop the carrier, we're not saying stop the plan, but be aware of what's going on in the industry, how you can still help your clients in a positive way without hurting your bottom line as well. So I think if we're trying to take away little actionable items, that might be one.
Is that just on one plan or on all their plans?
One plan.
Yeah.
They'll still pay you renewals.
I think that's gonna be next year.
Yeah, they're paying renewals on anything that was done prior to October this year. All right, so does anybody know what a Pearl is?
Yes, for Halloween.
Yeah, so what we're doing during AEP is we're lining up computers in the back of our office. The administrative assistants, if they're coming in just to shop their drug plan, is going to take them to the computer and show them how to go through that Pearl. Whoever the agent of record is, they're going to use that Pearl so that agent can focus on new business and they can still maintain that prescription drug plan for that client.
Well, aren't you guys doing a webinar too with your Part D clients, I think? And sending that out and walking them through that Pearl process. So for folks, I think I was on one of your calls.
Probably. I don't know everything that we're doing, but they do a lot of stuff.
I think so, because I got it from you guys. I took that one.
Justin and Steven are back there doing a whole lot of stuff. And, one thing that I think is very beneficial that we're doing this year is that Pearl and that lineup like that. Because people come in, agents don't need to just be wasting 35, 40 minutes on somebody just for a drug plan. It's not a waste.
That's right.
It's not a waste. It's a great thing to service your client, and you never know, just by them appreciating, you may get another additional 8 apps later on off of that. But ultimately, it's a prescription drug plan. So
yeah, if the client's comfortable enough to do the enrollment or the comparison themselves.
And then keep in mind over the years that you start doing that and phasing that in, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you send it out to them in an email or whatever, a QR code to in the newsletter, they could just be signing themselves up, sitting on the couch at home, and you still getting credit for it 2 or 3 years from now through the Pearl.
Yeah. Awesome.
I like that word.
I could keep going on, and I know you guys keep talking, but I don't see any other hands. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Oh, we do have one more. Oh, okay. Hold on, Tammy, I'm coming to you. All right.
I wouldn't have said anything else, but you're talking about the Pearl, and I had a conversation with someone that just said, look, the Pearl could do some damage to us, because if the carriers are seeing that we're sending a lot of people to Pearl and people are doing it themselves, that we're not needed. So I just want to say, I was told to be super cautious about that, and that's just, I don't know if that's scuttlebutt or what, but I don't want to have my business challenged by a Pearl when I could have maybe done something different.
So I have another concern with the Pearl as a telesales agent, which is if I send my Medigap customers the Pearl link, they get frustrated and then they call the carrier directly. That carrier might switch them to an MA. That's a concern I have with Pearl. I think your concern, luckily the data all supports, most Pearls are still some form of assisted enrollment. If anybody here ever heard of Deft Research?
Yeah.
So they publish a ton of data, and all the data still shows they want an agent to say yes. Even if they call you and say, I want this plan, they still want someone to say, good choice. You know? And they do, it's so far. And I think we're pretty far away. I think it'll be after us, when we're out of the industry, that more self-enrollments will happen. But I mean, it's a valid concern. But I mean, but the way they're doing, I think is really, really smart. If you're a hybrid agency and you've got people that come in, I think that's really, really smart. Have a couple computers in the back. I'm not super worried about the carriers looking at it. If carriers can sell insurance as good as us, we wouldn't be here. I mean, I'm just like, there's massive distribution companies out there, and that's not a criticism. They're great at making product. That's what they do. But I just think they need us to sell.
They're not going to cross sell like we are. So that's another thing. The reason that our job is safe, in my opinion, is because those people can sign up through Pearls, but they're not going to cross sell themselves a cancer, heart attack, and stroke policy, or a hospital indemnity policy. So if you really want to protect us, cross sell the clients.
Love it, man. Great advice. Let's give it up for the panel today.
It's time to grow your agency like a guru. Introducing Go Guru Pro. The Go High Level platform allows for minimizing software-based subscriptions and grants control over several facets of marketing and communication. Automate your workflow, communicate with your leads, book appointments in advance, and house all your clients in one secure location. Visit goguru.pro and schedule your one-on-one demo today.